From the top of the Silver City Ballroom, it's the Dirty Laundry Show with Joey Clifton and the Meatball.
So you people laugh here. Some of you think I'm a little cuckoo.
When are you people going to stand up for us?
I do not feel safe. I take that as a threat.
So let's talk about the library.
Yeah, but they can't.
Don't make me making excuses just yet.
No, you're full of shit.
You're full of shit.
No, listen.
He comes running out of the woods with a flamethrower, dude.
Whole life out here enjoying the journey.
Sometimes I cannot help myself. I just tell people that they're stupid.
We like to call him Ninjalito.
That's his fame.
Hello, Joe.
This was the largest event held on the green. My estimates were 4,000 plus. Others said there was at least close to 5,000 people.
Wow, that's fantastic.
You want to get into it? Let's get into it.
Another edition of Dirty Laundry. It's Joey.
And your buddy Meatball.
Yeah, you got a little cold, huh?
Yeah.
You feeling a little sick?
Do I sound coldish?
Yeah.
My heart's always cold, though. But
Always
this time
cold?
it's my nose,
Yeah.
my sinuses.
Yeah, it's kind of an attractive voice. It's like that.
Yeah, it's that
1-800
sexiness.
Yeah, 1-800 Corona.
Yeah.
Coronavirus. We have special guests in the studio today.
We do.
Yes. A lot of people bitch and complain all the time.
Well, that's
about
mirrored
who?
in for you.
About who?
About everyone?
About the Record Journal.
Yeah.
So we invited our good friends back.
We invited our newspaper.
Mary Ellen, who did a couple of our first episodes with us.
Right.
And Matt, I'm going to say it right, Matt Zabrick.
Nailed it.
Correctly?
Yep.
All right. And Mary Ellen Godin.
That's right.
Yeah, I know. I'm that good. All right, so I just want to know. I'm going to start with Mary Ellen because you were on our first couple of episodes, and then Meatball scared you off, and you never came back again.
Sorry.
So just explain.
I don't remember that.
You were born in Delaware, right?
No,
You weren't born in
but
Delaware?
I did live in Delaware.
All right, so where are you from, and how long have you been on the Record Journal?
Okay. Actually, I was born in Bridgeport, of all places.
Oh, lovely this time of season.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
And I ended up in Trumbull.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much where I grew
There's a
up.
mall there.
There is a big mall. And it's also owned by the same company that owns ours.
Trumbull.
Westfield.
We'll get into that later.
Right.
Yeah.
And I ended up kind of doing things backwards. Had a family, and then ended up winning a scholarship and went to Southern Connecticut State University, got a degree in journalism.
I was going to say, how do you do a family backwards?
Well, meaning I did the career thing backwards.
Okay.
Okay.
And how long you been at the Record Journal?
21 years.
And
Wow.
And Matt, how about you? Where are you from?
So I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania originally. Went to UConn, graduated in 2016, studied journalism and psychology, and then got, stayed in Connecticut, believe it or not, and worked at the Record Journal. I've been here about going on 4 years now.
Right. Now, you cover City Hall?
Yes.
And Mary Ellen covers business.
Yeah.
And education.
And education.
She's a jack of all trades.
All right, so
Thanks.
I think a couple of things like we see on all the Meriden forums on Facebook and everything else. Everybody always complains and bitches about the main thing. I think is the you can only see 5 stories before it asks you for a subscription.
That we have to make money to run a business.
Right.
We're not alone in that.
Right, of course. Yeah, I mean,
God
I
forbid.
think is it FSB or one of the TV channels is doing it now?
Are they?
Where you
Yeah.
go to their story, like on Twitter, which by the way, Dirty Laundry CT, find us on Twitter. They're doing it where like after a couple of stories, you gotta pay for the subscription
Because they have to make money, believe it or not, too.
Right.
Yeah, and who's buying the newspaper anymore? I mean, yeah, you get the older generation that's still going to Cumbies and buying the paper, but I mean, technology is where it is, so you gotta make money somehow.
I buy the paper.
You buy it?
Yeah, I make hats out of it and little boats.
Yeah, my father could make the hat out of it. My father worked at a newspaper press, the Star Ledger in Jersey. He used to print the paper.
It's not that hard.
And he made the hats. They would all wear the paper hats.
The problem is the ink gets in your hair.
No, they would use it before they printed on it.
So it wasn't newspaper. It was just a piece of paper.
Anyway, so some
Called
of the
newsprint.
some of the other complaints are you only give half of the story, or you're not. They always blame the reporters and say, well, you wrote about this story and you left out this and you left out that and you left out that. And I was talking to Mary Ellen one day, and she was explaining to me, you know what, we have deadlines, and if somebody doesn't get back to us with an answer, we still have to write the story.
You said that?
No,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was quite the cop out.
Yeah, no, but all right. Well, I want you to explain the process. So, who decides what's newsworthy and what to do a story on? Is that the editor or is it you?
Well, it's both of us.
So-
I mean, usually those decisions are made cooperatively between editors and reporters, and news by definition is a disruption of events, and especially if you're talking about crime reporting,
Right.
That would be the biggest. As of, for instance, maybe last month, there was an instance where there was a big call down on Hanover Ave, large police presence.
That was the hazmat thing, right?
Right,
Wasn't it?
exactly. And I got a call. I was going to a night meeting. I don't cover police, but I was attending a night meeting on the search for the police chief.
Uh-huh.
And I was asked by my editor to ask the mayor what was going on Hanover Avenue. I mean, people were saying things were, there was all kinds of emergency vehicles, et
So your
cetera.
pager went off, right?
Right. So
Your pager.
so I asked Kevin, and he said, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right.
I haven't heard anything. I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, okay. And I guess a couple of people were sitting next to him and said, oh, yeah, I drove through there. It was a utility issue. We were told to move along. It was a utility issue. Well, after that happened, I let my boss know. I said, this is what I'm being told. Apparently, the mayor hasn't heard anything about what's going on down there.
Basically, you don't have enough for a story.
You're right. So an hour later, I'm talking to some people I know, and they tell me that DEA was at the scene earlier in the afternoon.
Fixing the poles?
And so I called the nighttime reporter, who's supposed to be doing cleanup on this stuff, and he ran down there, didn't see any sign of DEA, and of course, these are things that need to be verified.
Right.
You just can't go and report, well, some guy told my coworker
Why? That's what we
that
do.
DEA, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So we need to verify that. And the next morning, we were going to go with a story based on the information we did have that was available out there. And as a last ditch report, I called Kevin, and I asked Kevin, I said, did you hear anything more? And he said, Mayor, I heard 2 hours after you asked me, this is what's going on. This is unacceptable. It's now been 24 hours since the first call came in, and it turns out it was a hazmat situation. There were some chemicals involved. And the idea is that the people in that neighborhood who were wondering, what are all the lights and sirens, and is their
Right.
neighborhood safe,
Right.
weren't told for more than 24 hours.
So what do you do? What do you do when, what is the normal time frame for a deadline for a story like that? I mean,
There
is it a
no
couple
such thing
hours?
a
As soon
normal
as
time.
possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as soon as you can get things
Yeah,
verified.
5 minutes ago.
Right.
But you obviously can't wait 2 days to
Well, no,
to do
we
the
didn't
story.
wait 2 days. We were ready to go in the morning with
Right.
with whatever we had, and at that point, the city put pressure on the police department and asked them, "You better release." Told them basically,
But do
you
you
better
ever?
release something.
But in other words, do you ever get to the point where you've got 90% of the story, but that last 10%, you're waiting for a phone call. You really got to release this.
We go
and
with
then
what we know.
You decide whether to hold it or to wait, or
Well-
the editor does.
Well, both.
We have an obligation to give people information as it comes in once
Right.
it's verified.
Right.
People don't subscribe to us so that they can wait 24 hours to find out about a
Exactly.
hazmat situation.
Right.
So we're doing the best we can. As Mary Ellen mentioned, police in this case, other towns tend to be more cooperative, but in this case, police in other agencies weren't putting on information.
Right.
So, we, like in any job, you work your way around. Mary Ellen talked to the mayor. He didn't know anything. She talked to other people who live nearby, and then eventually police put out a statement. You get official word and you go with it.
Right.
But it's a lot of, problem solving and, just like any job.
So
really.
who are your sources at the city?
At the city?
Well, don't you get it from police, mayor,
Yeah.
communications?
Yeah, the mayor, the city manager.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
they have their own internal,
Right.
Right.
I mean,
hoo-ha about who can say what. But,
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes it's a PIO from the police department. Sometimes it's the mayor may feel, he has enough to say.
The mayor's trying to get it as quick as possible, and he was.
Yeah.
Right.
He was. You could tell he was.
Well,
he was
don't-
annoyed
well,
at
now-
the way this went down.
Now Meriden has the new communications director. So isn't her position supposed to help you guys out a lot, right? She's basically your go-to person when you want to find out information, or no?
Well, the PIO is still the PIO. I mean, the police department has two PIO officers, public information officers.
That's pronounced. I was going to say that's pronounced pew, but it's P. Okay,
Yeah,
PIO.
right. Yeah, the way
right, and they're usually the ones that the information comes from, and that's where we get confirmation on different things. As far as the communication director goes, I'm not sure what her involvement with the police department is going to be.
Right.
It's been explained to me that those sorts of jobs take specialized training. You're talking about releasing information about homicide investigation, hazmat situations. So,
So about 2 hours of training somewhere?
I'm not the person to ask.
From the
but-
city manager, who's a police trainer.
Right.
Right. So Belen, the new communications manager, that's not really her purview. She's more sending out press releases about
On the census.
Hey, Public Works is doing this
Right,
project,
exactly.
or she's not on scene of breaking news, giving the latest details.
Right. As far as we're concerned, that's still separate. I mean, it's still the police department that's confirming
So
things.
is there like a
Well,
website where the community can look into the police announcement and the balance side of things?
There's this
a website?
City
Yeah.
of Meriden website, but as far as police go, I mean, as far as I know, it's still P2C.
So you still got to go there and obtain the
Yeah.
press release, right?
You know what? I was watching the cat calls one night because I have a lot of activity for some reason on my street, and it's not me and it's not Meatball, but I'm not going to go into that. But anyway, the funniest one on there is the prisoner meals call.
I know you enjoyed
and
that.
and then somebody explained to me that's when the cops
That was
go
me.
and get McDonald's for the prisoners.
That's right.
And I'm like, you know what? I mean, Arby's has the new fish sandwich, so I don't know why they're going to McDonald's. But anyway, I thought that was funny. I got a bit of dirty laundry for you guys.
Dirty laundry.
Okay, so there was a story. Well, somebody told me this, and I'm not gonna say who it was. I'm not gonna say the name of the business. I'm not gonna say the reporter. I'm not gonna say anything. I just want your opinion on this. Okay, so somebody somewhere opened up a brand new business, right? Record Journal sent a reporter down there to cover the new business, right? And I guess the people involved in the business had some funny things going on in their background, and it seemed like that reporter only cared about the funny stuff and not the business. And that kind of like gave me a shock because it's like, all right, a lot of people think that the Dirty Laundry podcast is supposed to promote downtown and promote merit. Like that's not our job. We're not here to promote.
No.
We're talking about like things that are going on. So I kind of think like the Record Journal does the same thing. Do you know where I'm going with this?
That we
Like,
only focus on negative, or
well,
Yeah,
well, actually, one of the people wrote a question about that and said somebody emailed us at dirtylaundryct@gmail.com and said, how come the Record Journal only reads bad comments or writes bad stories about Meriden compared to Cheshire and Southington and everything else? And I don't necessarily think you guys do. It's just that there's more bad stuff that happens here.
it's a city. I mean,
Right.
there's more
Or
crime. There's more
a ratio
overdose,
here.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
The
mean,
cities are always going to have
more than Cheshire.
more than Cheshire, more than Southington,
Right.
more than Wallingford.
So going to my question is, if you're as a reporter given this assignment, hey, there's a new business opening up, and you happen to know more to the story, do you stick with just the business, or do you write the whole everything?
That particular situation, I wasn't involved with the coverage at all, but I know a lot about the situation, and I mean, we're not naming the
Right,
business, so
right.
it's hard for me. But how do I talk?
Like,
about
I guess
this
is it a moral line? Like,
Okay,
or is it not? I don't know.
In this particular situation, it was a domestic incident, and our photographer went and got a picture of the owner and his wife, and we were ready to publish a big, nice, positive story on the front page of the paper, like
Right.
positive story,
like
Right.
we do.
Right.
And then we found out that there was this pending
Issues and stuff
a
like that,
very
right.
serious charge
Right.
pending in criminal court, and people can't have it both ways. If we run that story with a lovey picture of,
Right.
a victim and her abuser on the front page,
Right.
oh, well, the Record Journal didn't get the whole story, and we look like fools because the rumor going around town is this case is pending.
But then you look like fools if you only give half the story. I mean, if you give the whole story, then you're the bad
Right.
guy. If you give
Right.
half the story,
There's
you're
no
the bad
way
guy.
to sneak that into a
Right.
story without making it the story. It's
Right.
like, a sub shop opened
Right.
up, and by the way, this guy, tried to run over
Right,
his
right.
wife with a car.
Right.
So I understand. I mean, you guys are laughing,
No,
but it's
yeah.
Put yourself in our shoes, and it's
Right.
like, we still tried to report the story and the new business opening. I think our resolution in that case was to focus more on the old business closing.
Okay.
I hope I'm not identifying.
Yeah.
it
So
too
what?
much.
No,
Well,
I
yeah.
wasn't
What,
part of any
what,
of that.
what actually? That's what I was going to ask. What actually went in the paper?
I wasn't the reporter that worked on it. I
Right.
just know a lot about that
Because
situation.
I didn't hear anything about. I only heard about the business, which I think is good, but at the same time, like you said, it's only half the story, and so I mean, you get a lot of like moral decisions you got to decide on too.
Right.
Ethical.
Right.
Yeah.
I would.
Right.
I would say
ethical.
ethical.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not moral.
So is there ethics in journalism?
Well, there's truth.
Is there ethics?
There's truth.
Right.
I
Well,
mean,
no,
you
the
can
truths are
yah business,
Right.
but if there's this
But why not
element
separate the issues? Why not
that's still
separate
there.
the past from the reporting of new business? You
Wow.
have two different subjects. Why not do that separation? Why bring up the past? You can bring up the past in a separate article.
Well, and I think it was actually. I think the past was in the original article.
Right.
But this was about the business, so I personally thought it should have just been about the business. But I
Right.
also understand what they're saying. You can't just
Ignore
you're
pending
reporters,
charges.
right?
Right.
And then they get blamed for only doing half a story.
So
Right.
going TMZ over here, right?
Yes.
How's
yes.
that TMC though?
TMZ, the 30-mile zone around Meriden.
We're just gonna throw everything at you. Good luck opening the business. Here's everything else.
Well, all right. Well, okay.
Wow. We're off to a hot start.
All right. So, Mary Ellen,
Yes.
you have this amazing newsletter, and I get it through email.
Oh,
And,
great.
well, no, I'm giving you a compliment. Come on
thank
now.
you.
You're welcome.
How else would you
Appreciate
get a newsletter?
It's fun to do.
I get it about every week.
Right.
Now,
Snail mail.
Now, you do this newsletter, and it's basically about us and the surrounding towns, and it's all pretty positive stuff. It's
Right.
all about business,
Yeah.
businesses opening, moving in,
Right.
and different
But
things
we don't
like that.
cover positive news though.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Well, that's my point.
We have a
yeah.
newsletter talking about the new businesses. but
yes. Actually, there was nothing about Meriden in this last
Just
one.
not the
Well,
ones.
there
that-
has nothing's open lately.
yeah.
I'm waiting.
How do everybody get that newsletter? Like, do you have to subscribe to the Record Journal to get that?
No.
Okay.
You can go to myrecordjournal.com/newsletter.
Okay, and you could subscribe to the newsletter.
And then that'll bring up a list of all our available newsletters.
So there's other newsletters. You're
Right.
not-
a lot
we
of
have-
newsletters.
Yeah,
Really?
we have quite a few. Yeah.
I personally like the newsletter better because I could read in your story. I could read a little bit about your personality. I could see you coming out in your words, and I think that's what the paper sometimes lacks. Is it's just a straightforward story and that's it. I like when your personalities come out. You know, I mean, whether
yeah, I have a little bit of license to,
Yeah.
to
Right.
make a few jokes.
And people see
or,
how sweet you
know.
are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, even if you didn't like somebody, I mean, somebody could be an idiot. Not an idiot, but somebody could be really angry and mean all the time, and you could still enjoy reading the articles. Why do you think people listen to us? Because of
I know
Meatball
where
being
you're going.
angry and
I know where you're going with this, and this
Where?
is not about Meatball. I'm not going to mention any names,
oh, all right. Well, anyway,
but it's about Record Journal too.
I like the newsletter.
Thank you.
So as long as people know, say where to get it
Yeah,
again.
it's an opportunity to have a little bit of fun with, some of the things we're writing.
Can we
about.
write our newsletter?
Can you write the newsletter?
Yeah, we'll write the newsletter as
You
Dirty
can-
Laundry CT, and Record Journal publishes it.
You can talk to my boss.
That's called a letter to the
Yeah,
editor.
and just do it on our
There's so many
Facebook.
limitations with that.
Do it on our Facebook thing. All right, so they go to My Record Journal /news
Newsletters.
right. And they can find your newsletter and everybody
And
else's newsletter
some
on
others,
there.
yeah.
All right, I want to know your thoughts. Well, a couple things that happened this week.
What?
We didn't have much because we just did a show a couple of days ago.
Right.
So everybody could kind of chime in on this. Have you heard of the South Curtis Street pea jugs?
Yes.
You have?
Uh-huh.
Somebody wrote about this on. Do you guys know about this?
No.
Somewhere on South Curtis Street, apparently a lot of people are dumping a lot of stuff there. Somebody is doing like your 1 gallon milk jug of pee,
It takes me a while to fill it up.
and they're leaving it on the street.
Choking down, Linda.
And I guess the neighbors
That's
end up
serial killer
The neighbors end up picking it up and putting it in their garbage, along with all the other trash that people leave on South Curtis Street.
You said someone did a story
And then
about this?
no,
okay.
nobody knows.
Oh, wow.
But every week
Breaking.
the pee jugs come back up again.
Yeah.
And it's multiple ones. It's not just one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's every week long. So now, like, the whole thing is who's leaving the pee jugs? Why are they leaving the pee
Takes
jugs?
me a week to fill one up.
But
And is he in his straitjacket?
well, it's somebody from the neighborhood. I mean, you don't have like a homeless guy that just happens to go to the bathroom every day on that part of the street. It's got to be somebody who lives there.
How do you know it's pee? Maybe it's lemonade.
And why not just dump it? Why are you filling it up and leaving it for somebody?
It's a surprise.
So nobody knows about the pee jugs.
That's a
Heck of a
Kinder
story,
surprise.
Joe.
All right, that's your next assignment, Mary Ellen.
I don't think
Well, you
so.
just
South
broke it.
Curtis
You
pee
just-
jugs.
you just
Yeah.
told
You
the
just broke
story.
it. There's
Yeah.
nothing else to say.
Yeah.
DNA test. We don't have the resources to do a DNA
Police
test.
are
I think we
investigating.
covered the ground.
Joe's investigating.
We already know who
You
it
guys
is.
should hide in the bushes and take pictures.
Car windows got shot out over the weekend. Diamond
Really?
Hill Road, Main
Yeah.
Street, Britannia. Now they're shooting out the car windows.
That's the fancy neighborhood.
But nobody's saying whether it's gunshots, is it a BB gun, is it a baseball bat? They're saying that it was a black BMW. Somebody saw it, and do you know about this?
I happened to work on Sunday, and I saw a entry early Saturday morning,
Right.
late Friday night, early by Zolo
Yeah.
Yeah,
near your
Yep.
neighborhood,
Yep.
and it was shots fired, illegal discharge, and so of course after the gas station got robbed on Chamberlain Highway,
Right.
I asked the public information officer who I was talking to about the shots fired, and of course he didn't have any information on it
Right.
that he could give me, and asked to follow up on Monday, which
Isolated
is what we
incident.
hear a lot.
That's what we always
And
hear.
then-
Isolated incident.
Well, what happened was when I referred it to the breaking news editor, she looked it up, and it turned into a weapons violation
Okay.
as opposed to shots fired, illegal discharge.
Right.
The entry was different.
I think that's
So this is some of the challenges that we face when we're trying to cover police and court news, is that a lot of this isn't forthcoming right away.
right.
Right.
Sometimes we don't get it for days later.
And sometimes it doesn't even show up in the cat goals.
Exactly.
Well, and it seems like we don't get a lot of follow-up stories until like maybe a year later. It seems
When
like
charges
it's
are filed. Or,
right.
Yeah.
That's what dirty laundry's here.
Yeah.
No
We
follow-ups, sir. Speculations.
we could
TMZ.
talk about it.
Yeah, we're
in
gonna solve the
between.
piss jug problem.
So the 4th of July fireworks. On last week's episode, we were talking about the fireworks and whether the city should continue to fund them or not or whatever.
Right.
So one of the things was we were talking about Joe Villano and his oil company, Filler Up,
Right.
is taking 5 cents per gallon and putting it into this like fund to fund the fireworks.
Yep.
So that way the city doesn't have to. And then somebody wrote out to me and said that they're already trying to do a committee at City Hall to let City Hall figure out ways
But we talked about that
to do
last week.
fundraisers and stuff. Well, the reason I'm getting to it is
Right.
in today's paper, not sure if anybody wrote it or not, they're stopping the Hartford fireworks along the river. No more fireworks. And, the excuse that they gave, I mean, one thing was that the budget got cut in Hartford, so of course they're going to, rather use the money somewhere else. Unlike Meriden, when we need money, we build banquet halls and stuff.
Right.
But besides that, the same excuse was what happened to Motorcycle Mania in Middletown. It got too big. And the fireworks show is so big now that Hartford said, you know what? It's too many people. We don't feel comfortable keeping that many people safe. We don't think we could do a good job doing that.
Right.
And you're not going to get a good view because there's no more room in the park. So that's it. But the funny thing was $160,000. So $60,000 is the fireworks and $100,000 is the police and the fire. So now if Meriden's fireworks are $30,000, I think that's what they're
Right.
trying to raise. I wonder how much of that $30,000 is it all fireworks or is it just police?
Why would you need
Or-
extra police, though?
Well,
Well, they're gonna catch the
whenever you have a
fireworks.
crowd, Whenever you have a crowd, you have extra police.
But people watch it from different points around the town. It's not like they
Yeah.
congregate in one spot.
Directing traffic, making sure.
I know Wallingford spends 30 on theirs, and I'm not sure if they have the same vendor, but it's conceivable to me that all 30 would be spent on fireworks. But,
Right.
Yeah.
And they have a citizen organization that's raising the money for that too.
Is it run through the city, the committee, or it's just citizens doing it?
Actually, in Wallingford,
Sandry.
it's no, they don't
It's
do
a
that.
councilman.
They don't
I
do
think.
that anymore.
No, they don't do that anymore. So this year it's a special occasion because it's the 350th Jubilee anniversary. So instead of having July 4th fireworks, they've had this committee for a couple years now that's putting together all the events for the anniversary. But usually it's the chairman, Vinny Cervoni, after Zandri and Craig Fishbein raised money for a bunch of years through the Wallingford Fireworks Fund, I think it was called. So now he single-handedly goes out to businesses, usually the same businesses every year donate. Choate, I forget the other ones, but he raises $30,000.
Should Meriden businesses pay for Meriden's fireworks?
Should the businesses pay for it?
Yes.
Hell no.
It's their prerogative. I mean,
Right.
It's up to them.
no one's
if they
making
want to.
them.
But they're getting
Yeah.
guilted into it, though.
No,
on social media.
That's how sponsorships work, though.
Yes.
You put your name on something.
Exactly. It's all about guilt.
Not with the communities. Like, don't charge me in taxes, but charge the businesses.
Well, no,
Especially
if
with
you-
the Irish, the St. Patty's.
If you think about it, that really, Matt, you got it right, because why do you donate to things? It's either because you feel guilty,
Right.
or you want people to know that you're such a good person that you donated to it.
Didn't Frontier sponsor them for a number of years?
I think
or-
so. I think so.
So yeah, they did that for a reason. So
Right.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the St. Patrick's Parade. I talked about that on the
You
last
talked
show.
about that.
Yes, I did. All right, so we got a lot of questions from people, and I'm not sure how much you guys will know, but because you're not the only two reporters there. But I'm going to ask a couple of these, and you see what you
the two
what you
most
know.
important.
Yeah, the two most. Actually, how many reporters are there?
9 or 10.
9?
Yeah.
9, 10?
Nine.
9. What's the biggest story? I guess I'll ask you each independently. What's the biggest story you've covered that you felt made a difference? I think that's a good
Is
question.
that a reader question?
Well,
Huh?
I mean, in 21 years.
Yeah, these are.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, people wrote
I
these
mean,
in.
that goes all over the map.
That's from Paula, by the way. Paula.
I think recently though, I think when I found out that the city had undercharged Eversource,
Right.
and it yielded almost $4 million.
That was you?
In surplus, yes.
Oh, she's the one that started it all.
With the calculator
Well,
and everything.
right.
Referendum is
And
her fault.
ended up with the referendum.
No, that was after the referendum. Actually.
Yeah.
That gave,
yeah,
Yeah,
right,
I think you're right.
them
Yeah.
fuel. Yeah.
Right. I mean, and this just goes to show. I mean, some of the things that, some of the reasons why we sit through meetings, why we sit in courtrooms, why you'll see us there. You know, why we take that time to go to the Board of Ed meeting that's going on right now that I'm missing.
Yeah. Well, because this is more important.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I think it adds to the value that we bring to the community.
And Matt, what's the biggest story you think that you've done?
I don't have quite the archive Mary Ellen has to look back on.
It's a recent story.
But I don't know.
You have plenty.
Maybe this is the most interesting one. So this was actually back whenever I was covering Wallingford. The number 2 in charge of their VFW was
right.
a former Grand Wizard in the KKK. And
Nice.
Yeah.
That was a great story.
Yeah.
We had written stories about him in the 90s, beating gays up outside the bars, just chasing down Latino people, just, everything you'd imagine. So I wrote a story basically saying that, outing him as a former Grand Wizard heading the VFW. And the reason that matters is because the VFW sponsors the Little League teams in town.
Yeah.
Right.
They're a visible civic organization, and people have a right to know that this is who's running the organization. So that guy then since stepped down, and I think it became a big story and got picked up by like the AP and Washington Post, because at the time I reached out to the national organization, and the spokesperson there sort of shrugged it off as like, oh, well, if the other guys don't mind, then why should we, sort of thing. And then, that sort of him signing off on this guy keeping his post turned it into a bigger deal. So
did you have to
People
go
were
undercover?
incest.
no, I didn't. I did not have to go
Do you
undercover.
think? Do you think that's the reason that the white supremacist notes keep showing up in Wallingford? Do you think it's? You think it's like has to do with him?
There's a long history for
There
that.
is.
Yeah.
It's been going on for years.
Wallingford's kind of a hot spot. for
Right.
that.
Once you make people feel comfortable in a certain spot,
Right.
they tend to come back.
Exactly.
So
All right, so that was from Paula. Then the other one here, I got a whole bunch of them. I'll go no presents. Stop blowing the horn there, meatball. How come the all right? This one is from Jack from South Meriden. How come they don't see the Record Journal around town? I'm not really sure what he's asking. How come
Maybe the
you guys
boxes?
aren't?
Why don't I see
maybe it's
you,
your
Jack?
presence. Maybe it's
What
your
are they talking
presence.
about?
It might be the Record Journal presence around town.
Okay.
that's sort of above our pay grade, but did they mean like civic?
More
Yeah,
like spray
or
painting
just
buildings with
presents?
RJ.
I don't know. Take it for what it is.
Or is this somebody that thinks we work in Massachusetts?
I think they.
Yes,
I
we
think
hear
they.
that.
Yeah, you might be like at a call center
Yeah.
in India, and you only
Right.
come here once a year.
Yeah.
I have a long
Well,
commute
a
to
lot of
Mass.
people think I'm in Springfield.
We
Really?
both live in
Yeah.
Meriden.
You both
We
live in
both
Meriden,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
And every time something goes on around
I'm
town,
sorry.
you guys are usually here,
We're usually here. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you do have a presence here.
I'm not sure what he means.
Okay.
In South Meriden in particular, I mean, there's a lot of events that go
Maybe
on
the
at the
boxes?
airport. I don't know if it's the vending boxes.
Right.
Yeah, that could be.
Sometimes
Vending boxes.
Where you could put
yeah,
a quarter
they
and
used
get
to
a
put the
newspaper.
quarter in and get the newspaper.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What about them?
I don't think
They're very
there
convenient for older people.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't subscribe, but they want to get a newspaper because their grandson's
Not
on the
just
front
older
page
people.
getting
No.
arrested.
Well, that's how we sell a lot of single sales. Single
Right.
copies. Yeah.
I usually think it's like when a business opens and the business owner goes in and buys all the papers that day, so they could have the front page.
Right.
I have like
It's
50 of them downstairs.
Refrigerator copies. That's what we call them.
Let's see. At the last city council meeting, there was a legal matter, but they didn't say what the legal matter was. So I guess this has to go to Matt. Any clue what the legal matter could be?
I wasn't able to get any answers on that. A couple people were out last week, but I unfortunately can't bring any clarity.
All right. Speaking of the train going by, Mary Ellen, any
Yes.
clue how many people ride the train?
800,000 annually,
No. How many?
according to the DOT.
How many people in Meriden ride the
In
train?
Meriden, maybe you'll get 6 or 7 on the platform at
Yeah.
Shouldn't they have those statistics since they sell tickets?
Any point.
Well, we've been
during the
looking.
day?
We've been looking for these when they were doing the POCD meetings,
Right.
And we kept asking the people that were in charge of the meetings, like,
Right.
where are the statistics now? It's been a couple of years, and whenever you look at the train, there's only ever, like you said, a couple people standing on the platform. It's definitely more people riding it now than before.
Right.
But is it still?
The answer
You know.
I got was it was
All
an
right.
estimate. It wasn't even a really
Well, I
concrete
mean,
number.
they count. They they have scanners. They're counting every single ticket.
I'm sure they have all the information, but are
This
they
is from
releasing it?
DOT, but anecdotally,
Right.
based on some of the reporting
They
I
give
did
you
last
the
week,
big number, but not the little numbers.
based on the reporting I did last week, the train is full. 7:20, 8 o'clock trips from Meriden to Hartford.
Good old Meriden with all them
Right,
jobs.
they are full.
So it seems like
And-
more people are going to Hartford than
Right,
New
they're
Haven.
commuting, and it's the
Right.
same thing on the way back after 4:30.
Right.
That the trains are full. Then during the afternoon, there may be it may be more sparse.
I believe that.
Right.
Jean wrote in. Jean is our friend. She has the Meriden Flowers group on Facebook, and she wants to know.
Hi, Jeannie.
I don't know how to. I tried to simplify the question. She wants to know, like, does the? I guess a bigger question would be: does the Record Journal have an obligation to the town to promote certain things? So, in other words, yeah, okay, we have the Daffodil Festival. Record Journal does the story on it to try and promote it. But I guess her question is more like having to do with the environment. So you know how, and we got to get her on one day, Meatball, because I think it would be interesting. She would be the
We
one.
will.
Well, she would be the one that would say, like, "Hey, don't put salt down to get rid of the snow because
Right.
salt is bad. Use this instead, or you
Sun.
can make this at home. Don't use fertilizer on the grass because
Right.
it does this. You could do this." So I think that would be interesting. But I guess the bigger question would be: are there certain topics like that does the Record Journal have a dedicated reporter that you have to do a certain amount of these a year, or something having to do with
like a
It's
lifestyle
kind of advocacy.
section.
would it be the lifestyle? That's
I think so. Yeah, good housekeeping, lifestyle
I
section.
thought lifestyle was like what high heels you wear and
No, but just community lifestyle, not fashion.
Okay.
All right.
To answer the question, I think the question was, do we have an obligation to do?
The community.
Right.
To better it.
Environmental.
No, it was like, do we have an obligation to
Advocacy.
promote things from the city? And I think our obligation is always to readers. If we think that something is of interest and
Right.
what we write is what we think you should know, not necessarily what the city wants us to write. When those two things are aligned and the city announces some new initiative that we think readers should know about, then we write about it.
Right.
But we're not a PR firm for the city by any means.
or any particular group either.
No, they
Right,
just
right.
We're
hired
not
somebody.
lobbyists.
We're not obligated to advocate any single
Right.
cause because there's always two
Exactly.
sides to an issue. You use the example of salt on the road.
Right.
The alternative to salt might cost a lot more,
Sugar.
and taxpayers might not want to pay
Right.
for the alternative. So
Right.
there's two sides to the issue. So we're not going to go out and say, "Hey, stop using salt."
Right. You
So-
don't want to start anything. You just want to wrap everything.
Right. We
basically.
Right.
present both
We'll
sides of an
present
issue.
both sides,
Right.
right.
Right. But we're not advocating
Pros and
for any
cons of
cause.
salt.
Right.
Pros and cons. Write that down for
Yeah.
Gene next time
pick
she
up,
comes.
Pick up the paper tomorrow to
so
read
the
that.
R-
Yeah, we'll be on it.
R and RJ doesn't mean revolution.
No.
No.
The R.
Sorry.
The R.
Give it time.
No, it doesn't.
How long? How long they gotta wait? we're gonna be on board.
All right, wait. I got two more here. Let me see. Sue writes in, do you ever disagree with the editor's policy on only writing bad Meriden stories? I think we kind of went over this already.
Yeah.
You don't only
There
do
is no
That's a
bad
false
policy to write.
assumption.
Yeah.
Right.
There is no
Man,
And
it's just a bad town.
Rick wants to know at the last city council meeting, or no, he's not saying the last city council meeting. He wants to know, Matt, do you ever? How come you don't report on what the people in the council? Sorry, when you go to a council
is
meeting,
why I don't report
public,
on it.
right? Exactly. Public comment. How come you don't report on public comment and what the citizens say?
Okay, so I and other reporters get this a lot. My job is to reflect what happens at the meeting. For each story, I get a deadline. I usually get an inch count, and if it's a 2-hour meeting and a lengthy discussion, then I need to fit in the most important 500, 600, whatever words that I can into that story. I also, public comment, I mean, it's not going to make it into every story, but the last city council story I wrote was literally all about public comment. I wrote a story about how the public doesn't want this banquet hall that the majority of the council seems to be hell-bent on shoving down people's throats. So I wrote a story simply about public sentiment about that because I felt like that becomes part of the story. But every person that stands up at the council meeting and says, I don't like something, well, there's also counselors who I have to quote in the story, and they're the ones who are elected by people to comment on things.
Oh, was that yours with Mike Rohde? Was that yours when he
That
called
was
everybody?
mine.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Well, that wasn't mine. That was Rhodey's quote that I was the messenger.
And then do you ever get, like, in that situation, so let's say somebody, a counselor, not Mike, but just anybody, a counselor or a mayor or something, does something really bad, and you're the only one that knows about it, and now you go to write it.
Yeah.
Are you, like, blacklisted from ever asking questions to that person again? I mean, do you ever get, like, shunned?
I don't
That
care.
happens.
It's part of the job.
You
Right.
have been?
21 years, yes, that's happened.
Yeah.
Mary Ellen's gone through that.
Right.
I've gone through that, but who cares? I mean, again,
That's-
our
we're doing our
obligation
job.
isn't to your reputation; it's to
Right.
our readers.
Right.
So, if I have to do my job and write that you got arrested for beating up a police officer, or whatever.
No, Castro got acquitted.
I was just. All right.
I know what you mean.
It came to mind because it happened.
Right.
Or it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Either one.
Shut up.
So
Yeah, we do get a certain amount of pressure to keep things out, and we can't do it. I mean, you're a public official. You're in charge of a budget.
Right.
Yeah.
You've been elected by the people. You're held to a different standard.
the people who elected you have a right to know how you
Exactly.
conduct yourself.
Exactly.
But we get that
yeah.
too. We get that too. People get mad because we say whatever we say.
Yeah.
It's not always positive. Sometimes it's negative.
Well,
It's
with
like,
the-
you shouldn't be saying that.
Yeah, but the difference is like we can give our opinion because you know what? Nobody's paying us. We're doing this on our own. We want to do it. We want to get the word out
But
there.
people still try to
They-
pressure you.
yeah,
though.
but they have to be careful on what they say. They
Well,
have
it's
to.
not because of advertising. It's just because of
Right.
we're reporters
we
and not
keep that
columnists.
separate.
Yeah, yeah.
Advertising is separate.
We,
from
we
the
can't
newsroom.
not say anything bad because we're getting paid. That's,
Right.
Yeah.
What the biggest thing now, everybody, we had a couple of emails about the community towers and the MHA.
Oh.
So apparently HUD gave $1.2 million to fix the community towers, but in the MHA meetings, it says that they're going to get rid of or knock down.
Dun dun dun.
So this,
we go.
So this has been, we got a bunch of emails about this. Do you know, that would be Mary Ellen, right?
Right, right. I cover the MHA.
You cover the MHA.
Right, right.
What are they doing with the community towers? I
Well,
think it's
this
their last
grant-
building,
okay,
right?
This grant is something available every year. Mm-hmm. They get between 700,000 and 800,000. This year it happened to be 1.2 million.
Right.
There is some mills transition money that's included in that, which is why they got a larger amount. Part of the reason why.
Was the relocating the mills people. to
Right,
different things.
exactly. And that was done. And what they did was because those amounts that they've gotten, the $800,000 weren't really that much to do a whole heck of a lot of anything. They are allowed to roll those together. So now the amount is looking at more like 2.7 million, I was told last night by their finance person. And what they're going to do is they're looking at repairing the elevator
Right.
in community towers.
That's an expensive elevator.
Well, there's two of them because there are two towers.
Right.
And there's other repair work that has to be done. Now, where it comes into play about the renovation, it's a renovation. It's not a demolition.
They're redoing like the whole building, right?
Right. They're going to redo it. They were talking about relocating tenants from one building into another during this relocation. I'm not sure the logistics. As I was told last night, it's years down the road.
Oh, okay.
So in the meantime, they still have $2.7 million to spend on 220 units.
Right.
So that money is gonna be used for something, even though there are long-term plans to renovate the entire complex.
So they're not tearing down the community
no,
towers.
from what I heard, it's not a demolition.
No.
It's a renovation.
No demolition derby.
The what?
Demolition derby.
The what?
Demolition derby.
Oh, demolition.
Demolition.
It's your Spokey accent. I got it. He's from Spokey.
Skokie.
And I
Spokey.
get. Didn't you have a question for Matt? As a reporter, you wanted to ask him a question.
I have a question for Record Journal in general. I have friends, so I don't run to my
do?
You have friends?
No, you don't.
Breaking.
No, you don't.
He's counting me.
Come
How
on.
many?
5. But either way, so I have friends, and I don't run to my mailbox every day to retrieve stuff from there. How can I get Record Journal to stop sending me all the flyers?
Flyers.
Most people want the flyers.
You thought a reporter could answer that?
I was hoping somebody would.
How am I going to answer that?
Well, you don't have your bicycle and the van follows you and you toss them out onto the street?
Yeah, don't put it in my mailbox.
Actually, I think I get more from the Record Journal by not subscribing.
Right.
I get more papers and stuff in the mail than
Right.
if I did subscribe.
You just plug in my box.
Okay, good to know.
Noted.
Right.
Come on, the big question you were going to ask.
Uh-oh.
Is the pen mitered than the sword?
I believe I've heard that.
Yeah?
Yes.
How about from your experience?
You cheesed out on me.
From
I
my
don't know what you're talking
You
experience,
totally cheesed out on me.
All right, requote it then.
Wow.
I don't remember.
Everyone thinks they can be a reporter, and then they chicken out on the tough questions.
No, all right, I'm going to ask it. He wanted to know if reporters get laid a lot.
Oh,
That's
Lord.
what he wanted to know. And then you were going to say, is the
That's
pen
not what
mighty?
his face is
I
saying.
immediately regret.
Right. Is the pen
hanging them
mightier
up.
than the
Should've let
sword?
that go, Matt. Shut up, Beavis.
You know what?
You first, Mariella.
You know
Oh,
what,
no,
Meatball?
I'm not going there.
Oh, no. We don't really want to know. Believe me. We don't want to know. Meatball, you just flaked out on me. You're very disappointing.
I apologize.
Why don't you guys ask
But
questions?
I gotta thank Matt for that Walter Shamrock funeral article.
Oh my God, that was
I liked
one of
it
the
a lot.
best. That was our favorite article from you, Matt.
Well,
Right.
Was the
You
Walter
had the
Shamrock?
Thompson Candy, you had the Elvis
Oh, the
impersonator.
Elvis
you had the letter
impersonator.
from Trump.
The American flag.
What could
not
go
you.
wrong?
It's the environment, the things that happen.
Okay,
You were
so it
blessed
wasn't
with
me.
being assigned to it.
You made us feel like we were right there, and we
Right.
weren't.
Okay.
That was. He's like, yeah, whatever. That
actually-
was our favorite
It
article.
took a lot of work because I had to squat down
I
to
bet it
take
did.
that video of Elvis because of all the people behind me
the
wanted
flag
to
flying.
see. And Elvis did one song. And I'm like, all right, that was cool. Did another song. I'm like, all right, wrap
You're
it up,
still
buddy.
video?
I'm squatting down in the catcher's stance, videoing the whole thing, and my knees are
I've
going
done that.
numb. And he did 5 effing songs because
Put
that's
that in your portfolio.
yes. So
That was
all in the
great.
suit.
Right.
So.
Very funny.
What questions do you guys have? I'm sure looking at Meatball, you must have a ton of questions.
Which one of you is Kara Schreiber?
Oh, that's Meatball.
That's you.
That's Meatball.
So
Meatball's Kara.
You're causing all this trouble in our comments.
Not really.
No.
I'm actually getting you better comments.
Yes, one thing you'll notice with Meatball
I'm steering
is,
up the conversation.
is he does. I mean, he's a troll. He definitely is a troll. Well, Kara is a troll, but you
splitting hair over
you
here.
stir things up, but you make sense.
I do.
Yes, I think you do.
jeez. That must
So
be
a
coincidence.
lot of the Record Journal articles, Kara will comment, but the things that you're commenting are questions that you want to know.
Right.
So
I've seen people, when they comment, they always make it political. And they're always like, oh, the Democrats ruin everything.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the article.
Right.
And so I just trying to maybe steer away, but not in a PR kind of fashion.
Right. It's like 41-year-old man from Meriden arrested on drunk driving.
Democrats.
Thanks Democrats.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks criminal justice reform.
Thanks,
Right,
Obama.
right.
Yeah. Right.
What do you think about, like, everybody always says that the Record Journal is definitely Democrat. It's left leaning. Do they say that because of the editorial pages? Like, why? Where does it come from? Like, obviously, you know the New York Post stance, you know the Daily News stance, and the bigger papers. Where do they get that idea from? That they're a left leaning paper. They won't.
I think there's just a national sentiment that every media, you know,
Right.
that isn't Breitbart,
Especially in the
or-
Northeast.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and in
Or the
Connecticut,
Eastern Coast,
people
yeah.
in Connecticut and in Meriden aren't happy, so they direct their frustration towards the power.
Why
that
aren't
be.
they happy?
Why?
Root cause analysis.
How much time do you have?
Right. Do we
Yeah.
have all night?
It's interesting because I covered
Yes.
Wallingford for 2 years, and
Uh-huh.
Republicans have ruled Wallingford for 30 years, right?
Right.
And we always caught crap from the Democrats in town. Oh, you guys just write PR. You guys never challenge the mayor. You guys
Right.
hide stuff. Blah blah blah. You have a right leaning bias, and then I come to Meriden, and it's the Democrats have run the city for 30
Right.
years. You guys
Running it into
don't
the
go after
ground.
them hard
Right.
enough. You know, you're the problem. So it's like pick which one.
I
So
think I know why.
why?
Because people expect you to be investigative and steer the pot. If you're just reporting, you're not steering the pot.
Well, who says reporting is steering the pot? I mean, stirring the pot is. Will you stop?
That's your job, Kara Schreiber.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what
You're
you
a
guys
pot stirrer.
do.
I
Yeah.
don't get
Right.
paid. I don't get
We
paid.
don't
Yeah.
intend to
You
be
should fix that.
inflammatory.
Go fund me.
No, I don't think. I mean, you guys don't. You make it a practice to not let people know your political stance, correct?
Well,
Uh,
I've voted for as many Republicans as Democrats in
Yeah,
my life.
also.
I'm unaffiliated.
So you don't vote?
I get frustrated with both sides. So it's just
Right.
it's annoying when people come up to you and they
And try
find
to
out what you do, and
pigeonhole
you know,
you, yeah.
they try to size you up
Right.
and who'd you vote for, and
Trump.
it just, you know, and if I can stick up for our editorial team, I think we do. You know, we're not perfect, and if you catch the paper on a certain day, you might say, well, why are two Democrats, you know, columns, you know, side by side? But I think we do a good job of
Right,
curating.
we balance that.
We balance it out. We run Chris Powell's columns, and you know, every Democrat reader, you know, emails us, you know, upset that he wrote something about.
So people are never going to be happy.
No.
Right.
Well,
right,
exactly.
you can't please everybody all the time.
Right. You know, and there's an
And
old
that's how
saying.
we
if-
know we're doing our
But
job.
we're doing it though. Everyone's pleased with our podcast.
Oh yeah. No,
Well-
but what do you think? What do you think what would you say your biggest issue is with public perception of you?
I don't have any issue.
The money. the
Oh,
whole paywall.
That's not your
Why
Ma-
do I have to pay for it?
That's not your Maserati
Yeah,
outside,
I mean,
Mary Ellen?
That's why we've we've come up. The Record Journal has come up with the facts aren't free.
What is that?
Well, it's a campaign
It's
basically
an initiative to, like I was talking
to educate
about.
the public about what it is we do. And,
Can they be
look at
educated?
the value
Are they receptive to
of
education?
what we're bringing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
We'll
know.
see how that works
Nobody
out.
will care, Shriver.
All right, we'll see in a year.
Nobody likes Carrot Schreiber.
That's fine. That's a good hashtag. You should promote that front page.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and it's tough because we can bust our ass.
I could bust your ass too. In comments.
Writing a good story, and the only feedback we get is like, "Oh, you guys, why do you make us pay? You guys are literally
Right.
journalism.
Exactly.
You print in mass,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
it's just it's.
But the
it's
community's so
defeating.
good to you.
Yeah, and then no, they're not.
No, they're not.
No.
People hate us. I get it. I mean,
You don't get hugs.
I don't get it. Like, we both live in the community. We're just trying to do our job.
Exactly.
But, I mean, we care about our community. I don't like it when I tell friends who are my age in their 20s I live in Meriden, they
Right.
laugh at me.
Right.
Oh, there's nothing there. Oh, the bridge to nowhere. So
What about groupies? Do you hate when groupies like give you a hard time in public?
I hate that. I run into
Do
that
you
a
really
lot.
get that a
Record
lot?
Journal groupies?
No.
We got that
Where are
right
they?
yesterday.
No, I'm
Tell me
kidding.
where they are.
We had some groupies yesterday.
Oh yeah, we ran into groupies at Starbucks that
Maybe
liked us.
you guys.
Oh yeah.
No, I feel bad for you guys because I see what goes on behind the scenes, and I don't think a lot of people really get what you guys do. They just read the result
Exactly.
and wonder why isn't it what they agree with.
Well, I mean,
And to
for,
me.
as a for instance, you had a guest a couple of weeks ago who was saying how he'd like to actually bill the Record Journal because of some of the, I guess, information that comes out on a particular Facebook page.
Right.
What?
And it was interesting to me because, there may be some tips or some information that comes to them from the police. They're probably talking about police
Have that
reporting.
person bill Record Journal.
Was
Right.
this-
And I'm like, well, when you sit in a courtroom
Right.
or when you FOI a police department for an internal affairs report or you're sitting in the records office getting sort of passed along from one person to another person.
Right.
When you do that, then maybe you can bill
Yeah,
somebody.
let's
Right.
not cherry pick like,
Right.
oh, I found out about this.
Right. I mean,
3
because
hours.
you have a
Right.
friend who might be a sergeant in the police
Yeah.
department who whispers a couple of things to you and you can
Right.
post it on your Facebook page.
Right.
It doesn't necessarily.
You don't have a reputation to
Right,
lose
you
as a
don't-
news organization.
exactly.
Right.
It's all fun and games when you're just posting stuff
Right,
on Meriden
exactly.
Talks.
Oh, how
exactly. and
often-
the verification requirements that we
Yeah.
have too.
How often do you get? Oh, hey Matt, I got a story for you. I got a story. Hey Mary Ellen, I got a story for
All
you.
the time.
And then when you don't do it, they pissed off at you,
Well,
right?
if you find out it's not true.
We get that too, and we're not
Yeah.
really that big either.
Well, we don't care whether it's true or not. We'll just say we don't know.
But it's cool to find out all the information. You might even talk about it in a podcast, but you find out what's going
Oh,
on.
there's things,
People
I mean-
just send you
I mean,
stuff.
a lot
Yeah.
of this. Well, not to short sight them. I
Right.
mean, there are some some things they bring to the table.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there are some tips that we can follow up on.
Right.
Right.
But again, our verification process is a lot different, a lot stricter.
Right.
Than what they might be running with.
Yeah, we get a lot of tips and we get a lot of emails from people, and I mean the stuff goes deep. And you're
Yeah.
like, you
Oh,
know
I
what?
know.
Some of it I don't feel comfortable even talking about because I don't know enough about it. And I
takes
need to
hours.
educate
Right.
myself on it.
I particularly like Mid-State was going to buy them all.
Yeah. Oh, that was
That
a
was
good one, right? Yeah.
That was a great one.
Was it confirmed yet?
Is that? Have fun with that.
Well, speaking of the mall, in your newsletter,
Travels.
and you were talking about things that people wanted to see in the
Oh,
mall, and of
absolutely.
course you had to have the Dave and Buster's in there.
Absolutely. Everybody wants a David.
Everybody wants
and
a Dave and
Christmas
Buster's,
tree shop.
but yet nobody went to the Christmas tree shop when it was in the mall.
Oh, it was an express.
And well,
was
so what?
temporary. It was
It looked
temporary.
like Dave's Bargain Basement Bonanza.
They want Dave and Buster's, but they don't go to Crystal Bees next door because they don't drive and they don't have enough money and it's too expensive. And there's like a list of
Excuses.
excuses. So
Right. There's going to be some other uses, I think, coming out of them.
My friend Todd
Skate
is saying
park.
hello.
Skate park.
Todd.
Yeah, Todd.
Okay. Thanks, Todd.
Hi, Todd.
Hi, Todd.
Hello.
What else? Anybody got anything? I'm out. I got nothing.
Can we respond to all the people that hate us anymore?
Oh, yeah,
and sound
definitely.
more
Absolutely.
defensive, or
Go for it.
Do one of those
Wait,
No,
wait,
we don't
here,
mean to.
yeah.
We want to listen.
Hold on.
I mean, the Record Journal is here to listen.
Go ahead.
Can you play art?
Oh no, I don't have
You
art.
people.
Art is
You
somewhere.
people.
You people.
There's your music. You like it? It's too happy, right? No, go
yeah,
ahead.
Yeah. It's not a rumble tumble.
Rough and ready.
No, but I mean, I should have prefaced this at the beginning. We're obviously always open to criticism, and
Absolutely.
a lot of times I wouldn't disagree with everything somebody has to say.
No.
But,
Thank you, thank you.
know, it is nice to kind of stick up for yourself every once in a while, you know. So.
And I thought it was a thankless job to troll the comments.
Oh, you? Yes. Thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
We appreciate that.
They get a placard.
So why?
So you
why
people laugh
Paris?
here. Some of you think I'm a little cuckoo.
There's
Boom.
art.
That's
I
not Paris.
found art for you.
It's
one of our
not. Who
favorites.
is it?
No, just a random picture.
Where'd you find it?
Somewhere on the
Are
internet.
you ever gonna change it?
No,
No.
no. It's perfect. People
It
know
is
it.
perfect.
Did
That's-
we get?
it's like
It
a
really
brand.
is.
Did we get to the bottom of who was
Who
the?
is Alfred Newman and the other one, Arthur Bell?
We're doing like a little competition where we drop
Yeah,
clues.
I think we gave a lot last week. I'll tell you
Right.
off the air. We know who it is.
Right.
You do.
And you may be surprised
Right.
because that'll answer the
take a
big
guess?
the Burt Smith question also.
Who's
That was
Burt
the other
Smith?
one,
I
Burt
was trying to
Smith.
think of-
That's right.
Who's Burt Smith?
It's
That's right.
all the same.
I
It's
know you
all
guys
the
know.
same. All the same
It is
person.
all the same person.
Who is it?
Here,
I
you
can't
ready?
tell you because we're
Wait,
running a trivia thing.
Wait, no. Here, hold on. I'll tell you right now. Hold on.
Pew, pew, pew.
No.
People are really gonna enjoy this when they don't hear.
They're not gonna
Well, no, I'm not going to tell them.
Oh.
We're running a little
This is good
game
radio.
thingy, little trivia.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to find music. Here you go. Did you get it? That was
What
it.
is it?
I just
come on.
Come on, really? All right,
Did you
here.
get it?
Here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do
Did
you
you
guys
get
know him?
Really?
That yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know who that is? That
Yes.
person?
Yes, I
You
do.
do?
Wow, Rob
He was
Kaczynski.
a,
That's crazy.
That's not Rob.
All right, so you know who that is then.
Wow.
Okay.
It kind of makes
'Cause-
sense now when you know it and you look at clues. It kind of makes sense.
How did you guys find out? Or I guess you can't
we
say.
can talk you afterwards.
Deduction?
All right.
We'd have to kill you if we told you.
Oh, that's your
Well, you already know.
insipid sleuthiness.
Yeah.
So what other constructive criticisms do you have?
Constructive?
Yeah.
In this town? I don't know. I think you guys do a great
what's,
job.
What's new for Record Journal? What's new for you guys? How are you going to approach the community? How are you going to try to smooth things out?
Good question.
Any new
Things that
plans?
we-
What do we have to smooth out?
Who are we fighting
Well,
with?
all these people complaining. I know just a minority, a very vocal
yeah,
minority.
We just have to
It's-
keep doing our jobs to
we
the
just-
best of our ability.
And
But
we
how do you
listen.
improve on it?
We
How do you build
listen.
on it?
How's anybody improve on?
Are you going to be a next concert on the green shouting into a microphone?
All right, here's a question
No,
for
I've
you.
Hyping
seen
up
that.
the
It
crowd.
wasn't pretty.
You're not going to hype up to 5,000 people?
No, waiting for Joby Rogers to come out.
Oh, don't.
Oh, you
that's
can do
not even-
pre-Joby
The
kind of show.
30-minute dialogue.
Are
No.
there ever? I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
Is there ever a story in the back of your mind that you want to do, but you know that you can't even approach your editor about it until you have more information? So
Oh,
you
yeah.
kind of work in the background, working on it on yourself.
Absolutely, until you get enough information that you can sell it.
And a lot of times it's also strategic on our part because
Right.
we know once we tell them and it's in
That's
their
it. They're gonna
hands,
want it tomorrow.
They're gonna want it tomorrow.
Right.
So, and a lot of times we sort of want to buy ourselves
Right.
some time to do the legwork, you know,
Right.
so that we give you the complete story and we're
Right.
not giving you half the story as
Because we're rushed.
right,
Right. Yeah.
I hate being
So
rushed.
then you can come to us and we can do the follow-up.
Yeah, I'm a little.
Right.
I would like the Record Journal to give me some tips sometimes. Let me break a
Well,
story. At
and
some,
some kids-
besides pee jugs.
You just
That's all I
broke
get
the
to broke.
piss
You
jug.
broke the
Yeah.
pea jug.
But somebody wrote about it already. It's not like I
claim to
figured it
fame.
out.
Who wrote about it?
Look,
and you told me about freezy freezes.
Was this Samaritan Talks breaking
Yes,
news?
and it would have been different if me and Meatball were driving down the street. We see the pee jug. I'd say, "Hey, Meatball, go over there, taste it, do something. Is that pee?" And he tastes it, and then we find out it's pee, and then we talk about it. That would be breaking a story.
Yeah,
all I
investigation.
did was repeat something off of Meriden
You'd have
Talks.
to wait 3 days for MPD to give you a comment.
You're right.
It'll pop up. That's the other thing. It pops up like an hour. Well, like there's a good 40-minute delay on the cat calls with the police department.
Right, they filter
At
those
least.
out.
Yeah, and then there's other times where I've seen it personally where I've seen police activity, never hear anything about it in the paper the next day. So then everybody bitches about the Record Journal. How they don't even write about it. But
They don't know about it.
They don't know about it. But even if they did know about it, if the police aren't even putting the call up there so the public could see, what makes you think that the police are going to let the Record Journal know so they could do a story on it?
So is there a snitch
Trust
number
me,
for
they
Record
don't
Journal?
volunteer information.
what?
A snitch number.
A snitch number?
Oh, that would be great. The Record Journal should have
like
a
a
snitch
hotline?
number.
Yeah.
I mean,
Snitch
we have
hotline.
newsroom at record-journal.com.
Right.
Yeah, how about I can call with my raspy voice and be like, "Hey, this is
You
happening
don't
over
need
here."
to. You can
Piss
email
jugs.
us with your raspy
But then
keyboard.
you
But then you could trace
it.
it. You could trace it.
But
I think
anonymous.
I think you call it a snitch line. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. 100 snitch.
Do you have olive oil in a can? Better hurry up and get her. That's what you're gonna end up
That's how Mary Ellen got her Eversource overcharge.
Yeah, it was
from the snitch line.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
It
Oh,
was olive
nice.
oil in a can.
No, it was a
Olive oil got it. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for coming. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
this was an honor.
yeah, this was
Anytime.
great.
Blast.
Definitely. Email us dirtylaundryct@gmail.com if you want to be a sponsor. Follow our Twitter page. Mary Ellen told me to do a Twitter page, and now I'm doing it, and I'm liking it.
Tweet.
You
Yeah.
having fun?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Good
Bye
time.
bye.
That's enough.